good morning. This is Samyukta. I'm from Coimbatore, and today I'm going to be speaking about ethical AI. Imagine a world where missions possess intelligence similar to human beings, a world where industries are transformed, productivity has been enhanced, and solving complex problems that were once deemed to be impossible were now merely easy. This vision is no longer confined to sci fi, it is our reality today. We live in a world where missions possess intelligence very similar to human beings and they tend to perform whatever we perform. We live in a world where we get instant answers to questions, a world where cars can drive themselves, and a world where even a 10-year-old boy can pass a law exam just with the help of a chatbot. But how did we reach this point? The answer lies in the concept of artificial intelligence. Now let's break it down. Imagine you have a very smart robot friend, and this robot friend can do things just like you. But it doesn't have a brain like humans do. Instead, it has a very special computer brain which helps it learn and understand things. Sometimes you use your eyes and ears to see and hear things, right? The same way, this robot friend has special eyes and ears too. They're called cameras and microphones which help them see and hear whatever is happening around them. But don't worry, even though this robot friend is extremely smart, it still needs someone to tell it what to learn and what to do. Now, this little robot friend of yours is what we call as artificial intelligence. It is basically the simulation of human intelligence in machines that are programmed to think and perform just like humans do. Now, AI has become such an indispensable part of our lives that it has transformed the way we react with the world. But like Uncle Ben said to Peter Parker, with great power comes great responsibility. The responsibility to ensure that AI is being used ethically and responsibly. AI, like any powerful tool, has the potential to do both good and harm. It is our responsibility to ensure that we program it in such a way that it is being fair and respectful of our human values. Now, you might ask, when did this all start? Well, if you see, the idea of creating artificial beings can be traced way back to the 19th century, where L. Frank Baum's signature book, which is a very classic book, all of you must have heard of it, The Wizard of Oz, portrayed a character called the Tin Man. So this Tin Man was essentially a character made out of metal, which was looking for a heart. Now, this is what people basically embody as robots now. Moving on, fast forward to the 1950s, a pivotal era for AI where Alan Turing, a young British scientist, had this notion: if humans can think and perform tasks and solve complex problems, why can't we make machines do the same? He pondered upon this idea where his curiosity led to his influential paper, Machinery in Computing Artificial Intelligence, which was then released, which met great heights. And in 1997, before which the term artificial intelligence was introduced, in Dartmouth College in New Hampshire, in an artificial intelligence conference, after which subsequent decades saw the concept of AI blooming. Later, there came a lot of AI devices, which was a turning point in so many people's lives. For example, IBM released an AI-powered chatbot called Alice, which was basically trained to play the game chess, and it won the match, which was played against Garry Kasparov, who was the world's chess champion at that time. And in 2014, Google came out with a computer program called AlphaGo, which was programmed to play the game Go. So the game Go is not a familiar game to all of us, but it is supposedly one of the most difficult games that are played in the world. So the fascinating part about AlphaGo is how well it was trained. It was trained from the top Go players, where their strategies and tricks were fed into its digital brain. But the story doesn't end there. A few years later, Google came out with another computer program called AlphaGo Zero. So how AlphaGo Zero stood out from AlphaGo is the way that it was trained. And AlphaGo Zero did not get trained by previous Go players. Instead, AlphaGo Zero learned to play the game by playing against itself. It was almost like playing a game without any instruction manual. AlphaGo Zero just purely learned the game just by practice. And within a few days, AlphaGo Zero was able to beat AlphaGo, which is very fascinating to so many developers. And such an advancement of AI had met a huge milestone, which led to a lot of things. As it was said that AI had finally had the brain to interact with the humans. But even though such a huge advancement was met, AI was lacking something. What was AI lacking? Empathy. Chatbots then were merely relayed upon information that were taken from the internet without empathy, that it lacked in something. AI was lacking in something which became very evident, like the Tin Man, for example. AI didn't have a heart. It was not long until developers realized that AI did not need to only have the intelligence, but must bear the emotional quotient as well. And now let me tell you a quick story. So imagine a world where there are no humans left, and there was only one AI robot left called Max. So Max had this constant fear and sadness because there was nobody around him. However, later it figures out that it includes a code in its programming where it was going to self-destroy itself. But here's the catch. It doesn't know when this will happen. Now, Max lived in constant fear and sadness, thinking about when it was going to self destroy itself because it didn't know when it will happen. Well, funny story. The story that I just told you guys about was written by an AI driven chatbot itself. Someone asked ChatGPT about a story that would scare AI itself, and ChatGPT had come up with a response of what I had just told you right now. Now, what is our takeaway from the story? Well, if you see, putting it in simpler terms, this story emphasizes about the importance of ethical considerations in the use of AI. Ethical AI is basically designing a system with which developers that use, which encourages thoughtful decision making without disrespecting the human values, and which are basically fair and respectful of human values. Now, let me introduce you to a heartwarming real life incident. So there was this guy named Cooper in the US who had a dog. And this dog had suffered from this particular disease called tick-borne disease. And he went to various vets who dismissed his worry and told him that the dog was not going to stay alive for a long time. Now, of course, Cooper loved his dog so much, so he was ready to do anything to save the dog. But at one point, he was hopeless because multiple vets had dismissed him. And one random day, he tried to give all the symptoms to ChatGPT, which is an AI-driven chatbot, which gives you instant answers, right? So he input all the symptoms of the dog to the chatbot, and ChatGPT said it is likely this disease. So he took these results to the same vet who ran some tests, and turns out ChatGPT's interpretations were indeed right. And this is a fascinating story about how an AI-driven chatbot has saved a dog's life. So now let's add a pinch of fun to this ethical AIs too. From the Terminator to the Iron Man, we've seen Hollywood release a lot of movies where we have seen so many things go wrong because AI has lacked in ethics. Now think about your favorite sci-fi movie where AI goes rogue and chaos ensues. But hey, isn't it more fun when we see all these incidents unfold in a screen than face it in real life? Well, sadly, there has been a lot of real life incidents which had posed the difficulties that AI had proposed in real life. In 2017, Facebook released two chatbots, which were essentially, main point of it is to barter with each other. And everything started off really good, where at one point, the chatbots came up with their own language and started talking to each other. But how did this happen? Well, if you see, to get into the technical aspect of it, we use LSTMs and NLPs to model these chatbots that led to such a situation. Now, after chatbots started talking in their own language, humans were not able to understand it. So the project was immediately shut down. Well, if you were to turn this into a children's parable, you can say, give a man a fish, you feed him for a day. Teach a man to fish, you feed him for a lifetime. Teach an AI to fish, it teaches itself biology, chemistry, history, mathematics, and fishes all the fish to extinction. Yeah. So in 2016, Microsoft released another AI-powered chatbot called Tay, which was basically a Twitter bot to post random tweets on Twitter to engage with the Twitter community. And what happened was that after a few hours, it started posting offensive and racist tweets, after which Twitter had to completely shut down the project and publicly apologized for the incident. Now, here it was like watching a sci-fi plot unfold in real life with the internet trying to hit off the shut off button immediately. The multinational company Amazon faced major criticism when it was figured out that one of its AI driven hiring tools exhibited gender bias. Now, what happened was that the way this hiring tool was trained was by passing past resumes, which considered mostly of male resumes. So, even though a female resume was found to be far more skilled than the male resume, the AI-driven hiring tool, what it did was it preferred the male resume over the female resume, which was not a great thing that could happen to the society. And obviously, Amazon shut off the hiring tool and came up with more technologies that could be better and considered equal to both the genders. Now, this is a stark reminder as to how, in the world of AI, bias unleashed can have real world consequences, compelling us to take a hard look on how we shape our future technology. In 2019, Uber's self driving cars in Arizona killed an innocent pedestrian due to one of the malfunctions in the algorithms. Now, this is a reminder that AI isn't just a movie prop. It is something that has major real life consequences and something that we have to handle in a very real way. Now, these stories highlight some of the challenges that AI could have when it lacks in ethics. And it is almost like what Elon Musk says. AI will either be the best thing that has happened to the human race or the one that destroys it. Now, this might raise a few questions in your mind. Is AI the end of the world? Is AI going to end up in widespread job loss? Is AI going to leave us all jobless? Well, let me tell you an incident. Not like an incident, but a concept. So let's say I put you in a room and lock the door. And inside of the room, I give you a box of Chinese characters and a book of instructions on how to translate them. Now, in this scenario, you don't know any Chinese or speak or understand Chinese, and you only know the language English. And there is a person standing outside of the room who wants to communicate with you. And the only way this person can communicate with you is by passing slips of paper under the door. Now, what your job is that you grab the slip of paper, decode the question with the book of translation that you have, and then put up an answer with the Chinese characters that were given to you and send him the answer. So, from the perspective of the person standing outside, it would appear as if you understand and speak Chinese. But in reality, you don't speak Chinese, you only know the language English. Now, this is a famous thought experiment called the Chinese room, which was introduced to question the strong concept of artificial intelligence. This argument suggests that even though machines produce behavior that look similar and more smart, it is not really the case. The algorithm or whatever the AI is being used doesn't actually understand what is happening. It is just following a set of instructions. Now, this is what I want to say. People worry about AI, losing jobs and everything, but in reality, people are much more smarter than human beings. Machines can never control because machines only have chips. We have hearts. Machines have calculations. We have understanding. Machines have instructions. We have a purpose. Machines have objectivity. We have passion. So let's remember that AI can be our best partner, and with proper ethical frameworks, it can lead us to achieve our grandest dreams where potential knows no bounds. Thank you.